Are you planning to up your game and use a DSLR or mirrorless camera to record your podcast on video or create videos for YouTube? I've got a great audio interface just for you. Hi there and welcome to the Tech iHound. I'm your host, Don Bullock. I created this channel to help all of you by sniffing out the news with Apple and any other technologies that I use here in my studio. This is a review of the Vocaster Two by Focusrite. In 2022, like many on YouTube, I was using a Blue Yeti microphone. It sat on my desk for several years and it served me well. Oh, the girls decided I wasn't paying attention to them, but you can see the Blue Yeti on my desk. One morning, I was taking a short break from recording and my wife came in to ask me to research something on the internet. Since I was using my main computer, I turned to my other computer that was here over on the table to my left to find out what she wanted. When I finished, I turned back to my desk and my elbow struck the Blue Yeti and sent it crashing to the floor. Yes, it ended up in the trash. After using another USB microphone that wasn't working out very well, I decided it was time to switch to a different microphone. After doing a lot of research, I decided on a Rode Procaster, and that meant that I also needed an audio interface. Of course, what I wanted was a Rodecaster. Rode had just introduced their new Rodecaster Pro 2. But the cost was too high and it was far more than I needed as far as inputs are concerned. Focusrite had just introduced their Vocaster series. Before I decided on the Vocaster 2, I read a lot of reviews and watched some people that I trusted on YouTube that were reviewing them. It all boiled down to the fact that the Vocaster had one unique feature that I wanted. Just for reference, I bought my Vocaster on March 26, 2023, so I've been using it since then. I'll give my overall review, including unique features that I wanted, towards the end of this video. The Vocaster is not your typical audio interface. Here's a detailed look at it. This is the Focusrite Vocaster Two, a great audio interface. We first of all have the volume control for the host headphone jack. Then on the right side we have the volume control for the guest headphone jack. The large center knob is for adjusting the volume of both microphones. There's a white LED light around the knob that shows the level of adjustment. It makes it difficult to really understand the accuracy of this knob. On the left side of the main volume knob, you can see the VU meter for the host microphone. So this is the VU meter for the host microphone. On the right side of the main volume knob is the VU meter for the guest microphone. Obviously that's not plugged in, so that meter is not operational at this point. This LED, when lit, shows which microphone is being adjusted. This shows the host microphone, and over here is the touchpad for the guest microphone. The Vocaster also has mute buttons for both microphones. This is the host, this is the guest. The mute is both silent and fast. The center touchpads on each side are for the voice enhance feature that the Vocaster has built in. I'll show more about this feature when we get to the app that goes with the Vocaster. Up in the right corner, we have 3 LEDs. The first one shows that it's connected to the computer. The one in the middle shows when it's connected to Bluetooth. And the one on the left is for phantom power if you have a condenser microphone. Now let's look at the back of the Vocaster. Starting on the left, we have a power on-off switch, which is great to have. Some don't have that. Then this is the USB connection for power and data to the computer. Then over on the right, we have the 2 XLR inputs for the host and guest. Next up is the switch for phantom power. To the left of that is the cell phone input. It's a TRRS connection. To the left of that is the Bluetooth switch. Then down below we have the outputs for the speakers, the right and the left speakers. We interrupt this explanation with a word from Tom Buck.
And then this has something that I think is really special because it's one of the most common questions that I get with the Rodecaster Pro 2. There is another 3.5 millimeter output, but it is a TRS output for a camera specifically. So if you want to do a simple video podcast and you just want to take this audio and run it into your camera, you can do that. This audio you're hearing right now is being recorded into my MacBook through Adobe Audition, but I also do have the Vocaster, which you're listening to right now, running into the Sony a7S III. But the ability to run XLR microphones, your whole podcasting setup just directly into your camera, not have to sync the audio, not need any other gear, is pretty cool.
Yes, this feature sets the Vocasters apart from any of the current prosumer audio interfaces. It is one of the main reasons I chose it over the others available at the time. Since the main feature was a direct TRS connection to a DSLR or mirrorless camera, I'm including a test of this feature. Just understand that there were a lot of issues getting the volumes to match as closely as possible. The volume going through the camera was most often lower than the clips I recorded directly into my computer using GarageBand. This is most likely due to the volume settings on the camera's app. I kept that volume low because the camera amps aren't really the best to use. This is a test of the Focusrite Vocaster Two that I have here right above my desk. By the way, I do have a video on how I put it on this low-profile arm if you're interested. This is a test of the Vocaster 2. I'm going to be recording directly into the computer using GarageBand, and I'm also recording directly into my camera. It's a Canon DSLR. I'm recording those to see if there's any difference or if one's better than the other. This is a test of the Focusrite 2 going directly into my camera. It's going directly into a Canon DSLR camera. This is a test of the Focusrite Vocaster 2 directly into my Canon camera. This is a test of the Vocaster 2 going directly into the computer and recording on GarageBand. This is a test of the Focusrite Vocaster 2 going directly into my computer using GarageBand. This is a test of the Focusrite Vocaster 2 going directly into my Canon camera. This is a test of the Vocaster 2 going directly into my computer recording on GarageBand. After listening to all the recordings without any enhancements, including many clips that weren't included here in this video, I did notice some differences between the two. While I think both sound good, the GarageBand recordings are a little fuller with slightly more bass, but the two are so close that I doubt anyone would notice if the audio was going through the camera or was being recorded on the computer using GarageBand for a whole video. As an aside, audio in this video does switch between camera and GarageBand. There are also some voiceover sections that I've recorded into Final Cut Pro. With some experimentation with the voice enhancement feature on the Vocaster, the audio from the camera could possibly be improved. This is probably where my lack of patience got the best of me. I know some of you are looking for an audio interface that doesn't need a computer for mobile uses, but the Vocaster does need their Vocaster Hub software to make some changes. Once those changes have been made, however, they remain programmed into the Vocaster so it can be used independently. This is the Vocaster Hub app. I usually keep it up here in the corner of my computer so I can sort of glance at it, but I'm going to move it down a little bit lower so it's surrounded by the background on the computer. This is the Vocaster Hub software. And in this first box, we have the mic level for the host. This is the host mic level. Then over next to that, we have the guest mic level. And of course, that's been turned off because I don't have a guest microphone to plug into it. If I was using a condenser microphone instead of this dynamic microphone, I would go over here and click on the 48 volt for phantom power. Now, I don't have that kind of microphone, so I'm not going to switch the switch. In that same box, there is a mute button, and I could press that. But now it's back on, so you can hear me. Then on the other side of that, we have auto gain. This has an auto gain feature that you can use to set the auto gain on your microphone. Now, I found that it does it a little softly, sets the microphone gain a little softly, so I don't use that too often. Now, in the middle is the enhance feature. And this is a really nice, fun feature that they've added to the Vocaster. If I click on that, I suddenly get a different sound to the microphone. And if I click on this arrow, I'm getting the radio. This is the radio sound enhancement for the Vocaster. And then down below that is the clean. This is now the clean sound for the Vocaster. And if I go there and click the arrow again, I can click on warm. This is what they call the warm setting for the Vocaster. And then if I click on that further, I can go down to bright. And they've set this as a bright adjustment or enhancement for the microphone. Now, one of the things that they added, after I bought my Vocaster, I'll take that enhance feature off, by the way. One of the things that they added was they added a way to adjust these enhance features. And they did that by adding this little symbol right up here. This little symbol, if I click on that, it gives me what's essentially an equalizer and a compressor. And I can adjust the compressor by moving this slider up and down. Then over here, as far as an equalizer, they have bass, mid-tone, and treble. Now, this reminds me of the old equalizers we had on stereos for our cars many years ago. But that's what this is. Now that we're on the equalizer, you can actually see what the equalizer does when we change those enhanced settings. Right now, it's on bright. That's what it says right up here. And so these are the settings for bright. I can go up here and change that to warm. And those are the equalizer settings for warm. Then we can go to clean. And it's changed now to clean. And then we can go to radio. This is the radio sound. So this is the radio sound, and you can see what the equalizer's set at. Now again, these can be adjusted within these settings. The biggest problem that I see is I can't create my own presets and store them. Now here below the equalizer, they have what they call a rumble reduction, and it can be none, low, or high. So this is none, low, and high. I don't know if you notice any difference there, but I would keep it on low most of the time. But notice it doesn't have a noise reduction. It only has a rumble reduction. One of the problems that I have with these sliders, as you may notice as I went across, is there's no numbers. There's no information about where the slider is and what this little space is, this blue space. If I move the slider down, you can see it's changing, but what is changing is really not clear. And the same thing for the other two. So this is very confusing to me. Now, I guess if I experimented more with this, I could figure that out. But that's something that's very confusing. So I can click this X and get rid of that. Then down at the very bottom, we have the mix levels. We have the host level, and that's what this is. Then next to that is the guest level, and obviously I'm not using the guest microphone, so that's not available. Then next to that we have an auxiliary input on the Vocaster, and that's what this level would be. And then there's a Bluetooth connection again on the Vocaster, and that's what this would be. And then next to that we have the Loopback 1, which is something that many of these audio interfaces don't have, and then there's Loopback 2. So it has 2 loopbacks that are possible as far as using it. And then over the very far right, we have the show mix. And this is showing what's going out to my computer. And then recently, I noticed a new menu up here in the top corner. And this menu, if I click on that, it gives me the technology license for the Vocaster. I don't know why I need that. But it also says I can have it on system theme, which I have it on now. I can put the app on light, and that's what the light looks like. Or I can move it over to dark, and that's what it looks like. And I have it just by default set on system because that's what I like. Then down here, they have a way to restore it back to factory defaults. So if I didn't like a change that I made, I can go back and set the factory defaults here, which is very handy to have. Then down below here, it has auto gain adjustments. I can change it to the default gain that it came with from the factory. I can set it to streaming if I was using this to stream with, or I can set it to camera. And obviously, since I'm sending my signal into a camera, I have that set. Then down here at the bottom, it has a place where you can share your analytics with Focusrite. And obviously, I don't choose to do that. I can go up here and click on that and get rid of it and go back to the Vocaster Hub main page. One of the things that really bothers me with this is there's no markings and there's no numbers on any of these meters. You can see there's no markings. I can move this down or I can move it up. Oops. Sorry about that. I clipped, and it does indicate that I clipped over here, but I don't know where I had that. So, and there's no indication. There's no little marks or no numbers in dBs that would be great to have, but obviously they don't have that. And the same could be said with this equalizer. There's no numbers or nothing over here that indicates where these things are. And I'm not sure whether the company's ever going to fix that or not. So I'd love to see Focusrite add the markers and numbers, well, at the very least, some level marker lines to the Vocaster Hub software. Some kind of level markers would also be helpful on the Vocaster as well. Most, if not all, audio interfaces, especially in this price range, don't have all the features that the Vocasters have. Speaking of price, many audio interfaces that do things similar to what the Vocaster does cost hundreds of dollars. Here's where the Vocaster shines today. The original list price for the Vocaster Two was $299.99 and quickly was discounted to $249.99. The price I paid in 2023 was discounted down to $229.12. Vocaster prices continued to fluctuate greatly. Today, as I prepared this video, I found the Vocaster 2 on Amazon for $89.95. That's the lowest price I've seen. Most places like B&H, where I bought mine, are currently charging $99.99. Of course, the Vocaster 1, with its only one microphone input, is even less. As for my review, I pretty much used the Vocaster 2 without changing any of the voice enhancements. Personally, I don't like the preset vocal enhancement settings as much as I thought I might, and found the additional tweaking feature that they added very confusing. I'm sure if I played around with these microphone enhancements, I could improve the sound from this microphone, but I just haven't gotten around to it. My biggest complaint for those tweaking adjustments and the volume adjustments is that both the app and the Vocaster itself, there aren't any numbers or even markers. As I showed in my demonstration of the app, not having them made it difficult to be consistent with my recordings. Putting the volume knob on the Vocaster in the exact spot every time was very difficult. I also found that when I was recording, I had to boost the volume of my headphones much higher than the volume I used for playing back the recording. Forgetting to change that setting caused a lot of problems, especially when I started the playback and forgot to lower the volume. It was also a big problem when doing voiceover segments because the audio countdown that I have was very loud in my headphones. Overall, the Vocaster is an excellent choice though. It is certainly of great value for an audio interface, and I highly recommend it to anyone to give it a try. If you buy it from some place like Amazon or other places that have good return policies, you could at least buy it, check it out, and see if it's great for you. And if it isn't, you could just return it very easily. On a recent live stream on Dark Corner Studios, the Vocaster came up due to a comment from a listener.
I missed a super chat here, Action Podcast. I'm just a fat dude sat in a cupboard with an SM58 and a Vocaster One. You guys have all been epic and very kind to an audio noob like me.
Just need to point out the Vocaster series, like since it's decreased in price so much, I see the Vocaster One like $50, the Vocaster Two like $100. That's crazy for that price. That's such a good deal for a podcaster. Just wild.
Yeah, I've been winging
there.
that all year. I've been saying that's like the best thing to get. I think they're going to disappear soon too.
The Vocaster 1 and 2 are great interfaces for podcasting, streaming, and video creation. They're not intended for music production because that's not designed into them. First of all, they only have XLR input, and it's actually in the name, Vocaster. I think the Vocaster is a good audio interface. It does what most basic audio interfaces do, plus it has some additional features that the others don't have. I'm sure with more experimentation, I could have solved some of the basic issues I've had with it. Having that direct connection into the camera certainly has saved me a lot of time and effort syncing audio in post, and is still the Vocaster's best and most important feature for me. I'm very surprised that it's not available on even more expensive audio interfaces, like the Rhodes. Focusrite has been in business for over 30 years, so the Vocaster has an excellent company behind it. I chose the Vocaster 2 over the One due to the possibility of the 2 microphone inputs, and also it has Bluetooth input that's absent from the Vocaster 1. Overall, the Vocaster has served me well. It's an excellent audio interface for the voice. I've enjoyed using it. If you're recording your podcast or videos on a camera with an audio input, the Vocaster interface may be a great choice for you. I can safely say that the Vocaster 1 and 2 both have features that most of us don't necessarily need, and except for my complaint about the missing markers and numbers, especially in the app, Focusrite has made those features easy to use and experiment with, if you have the time and the patience. For those of you who need more input for your microphones, the Vocaster has up to 70 dB clear gain. If you plan to use an SM7B or similar sensitive dynamic mic, that extra gain alone can save you the cost of a cloud lifter or a similar booster. In that case, a cloud lifter costs more than the Vocaster 2, so that's a big savings in money. I don't use speakers with my Vocaster, so I can't speak to the quality of the speaker output. I can, however, report on the headphone output. As I mentioned earlier, the headphone volume has to be raised for recording as opposed to a good listening level. That extra gain also seems to add a little extra noise at times to my headphones. For those of you that are using speakers, you should know if you're using the speaker output, then you can't lower or mute the speakers without affecting the host's headphone volume at that same time. The good news is that you can mute the speakers separately from the included Vocaster Hub software. It isn't an issue unless you want to alternate monitoring between the speakers and the headphones. I've never used the loopback feature because I didn't fully understand what it was, and I really don't need it the way I use the Vocaster. The loopback feature allows you to play sounds, music, and voice from your computer or phone, and they'll make it into your recording. You can play your intro, outro, voicemail, feedback, and sound effects all from your phone. You won't have to add them manually in post-production, and it may help you with the flow of your show, especially a live stream. I'm not really sure about the materials and appearance of the Vocasters. They look a lot different than most interfaces, more like flying saucers, and they're made mostly of recycled plastic. In my opinion, both Vocasters are still well made and should last for a long time, as long as you'll need them, especially compared to others in their price range. Though I find it interesting that for these interfaces, they moved away from their usual metal cases. The knobs on the Vocasters are very similar to all of those on their other audio interfaces, and they've maintained that good quality. At their original prices, people saw Vocaster 1 and 2 as good upgrades to their basic starter audio interfaces. Now that they cost less than most of those so-called starter interfaces, the value is certainly there. While I'm recording this, I thought you'd be interested in an update on how well the Vocaster 2 is working out on the low-profile arm. It's been great. The arm allows it to be moved up off the desk, and it really articulates well. I haven't had any problems with it at all. It's really worked out well. While it's over here more in front of me, I can see the volume meter on the Vocaster. I also know that the switch that I'm using for my headphone volume is in the right place. The only other problem I had with it is this little figurine, which actually holds my glasses when I'm editing. I don't use my glasses when I'm editing, and they sit on top of this figurine. Well, I had it over here, and the arm would knock it over, so I just moved that over. So that's the only problem that I've had with the low-profile arm. Now for my confession. As I've mentioned, I originally wanted the Rodecaster, but the size and cost of that were just too prohibitive. I just couldn't afford the cost, and the size would just not have fit my desk very well. Soon after I'd purchased the Vocaster, Rode introduced their Rodecaster Duo. Of course, that's always the way with technology. Something always new is coming out. Since then, I've been thinking about making the switch. I've even seen several videos on YouTube on how to connect one directly to a camera. While there seems to be some mixed opinions on how well it works, I've now been doing voice syncing enough that I'm willing to take the chance. As I was looking at the Black Friday Cyber Monday sales this year, I stumbled upon a special discount on a white Rodecaster Duo on Amazon. For a very brief time, they were chopping $100 off the white Duo. As a result, I'm going to be changing to the Rodecaster as soon as I'm finished recording this video. I've already checked to see if it will work on the low-profile arm, and it does. That test was successful. A video on what I think about the switch is coming in a month or so after I've used it for a while, so you may want to subscribe to that video. As for the Vocaster, for now it will be going into a drawer, but if I'm ever able to set up an actual studio, it will come in handy as an extra audio interface on an additional setup I had plans for. When that's going to happen, I have no idea. Now, those of you who are very observant, or perhaps maybe a little nosy, you've already noticed that the white Vocaster Duo is sitting over there on the dining room table. One of the YouTube channels I follow for information on audio equipment is Dark Corner Studios. On that Dark Corner Studios live stream, Curtis Judd, another excellent microphone and audio gear reviewer, had the following advice.
Oh my gosh, when's the update going to come? Oh, I don't want to buy this yet because there might be a Mark II coming out really soon. And it's just like, bruh, just buy what you need and get to work. Get to work making your content.
Personally, I agree with Curtis. I don't regret buying the Vocaster, even though Rode later came out with the Rodecaster Duo. If I'd waited, I wouldn't have been nearly as productive. So if you're in the position where you need an audio interface, the Vocaster 1 or 2 can't be beat at their current prices. There's a link to the video showing how I connected my Vocaster 2 to a low-profile arm. You can see how smoothly this low-profile arm works with the Vocaster. It has really improved my workflow. So the video link is right over here. That same technique could be used for any audio interface of similar size and weight. There's also a link to another video down below. You can also click on my photo, which is down here, to subscribe to the channel. And thank you very much for watching.